Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Victory Reseda update. This is episode 3, and I am George Torline.
And I'm Randy Stern.
And today we're going to talk about some of the vehicles that we've reviewed over the last quarter, as well as some other updates on our vehicles that we have for long-term use, and a little bit of surprise towards the end. So stick around for that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have some fun today. So hopefully you're sticking with us. Sit down, relax, and take a watch or listen whatever device you're using.
Absolutely. So let's dig in. So the big thing for us for this summer was the MAMA Rally, or in other words, the Midwest Automotive Media Association Rally that they hold annually in May. And it's a kind of a combination of where journalists can come together and see a wide variety of vehicles that manufacturers and automotive fleets bring in. You know, I think we had, 80 vehicles this year?
I thought we had more than that, but
Maybe
you're
90?
probably right. Because I thought that the word was 100.
Okay, yeah. So we had a lot of vehicles that we could take a look at and spend some time with. Some of the videos that we have on our channel are produced during that particular event, and more will be coming. But we got a chance to see a wide variety of vehicles, from sedans to luxury vehicles to SUVs, really an amazing combination of things. So with that, there were so many things to choose from to look at. What were some of your favorites that you saw there?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because right at the top of my list was the first car I drove during that event, and that was the 2022 Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge.
That was a beauty, and boy, yeah.
It's even better beauty when you actually drive it. It's everything you expect in a Rolls-Royce. Bespoke styling, bespoke interior, a ride quality that is, peerless. And it's straight up peerless. However, keep in mind that the difference between the Ghost and the Phantom, which most people associate with the brand, is the Ghost is more of a driver's car as opposed to being driven. Although you can be driven in a Ghost, but this is a regular wheelbase version. So that means it's really more for the driver. Of interesting tidbits I've learned about the Ghost is the Black Badge, which is, your black badging, the Spirit of Ecstasy's in black.
And even like the radiator in the front and
Yes.
other elements. Yes.
Yes. According to Rolls-Royce, worldwide, the take on Black Badge is 40% of all new vehicle sales.
Wow.
Yeah. And it brings the demographic age down, because that was a way of attracting a younger demographic. And of course, these days, the younger demographics got more money. So obviously, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a Rolls-Royce. But I'll tell you what, the gray exterior, like you said, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Now, when you step inside, you do have a mix of black and orange.
Yeah, that orange was interesting.
It was. And that's what Rolls-Royce wants to offer: a fully bespoke interior that is designed by you, the customer. And keep in mind, it does cost a pretty penny in order to do that, because you're going to be brought into a room, you get swaths of leather of different colors, and you can go absolutely nuts on this interior. So they have various different options you could work with your salesperson at a Rolls-Royce dealership. And in the end, you just wait, then your Rolls-Royce arrives to your specification and no one else's. I don't think there's any one that's the same anymore.
Yeah, with all the things you can customize to your personal preference, it's going to be, the odds of having two that are the same are very slim.
Right. And I'm not going to say how much it costs, because hopefully you're sitting down if I say it, and I don't want you to have a heart attack, because it is clearly six figures. Not going to say how much.
Into the six figures, yes. And when you got a chance to drive it, you're supposed to let someone know that you had it so we could do some media with it. What happened with that?
The circumstances were a little interesting. All I know is that the rep from Rolls-Royce, we were talking about the Ghost. I was talking with other representatives from the other manufacturers, and she goes, "Oh, it's a little cold. I got to go back to the Osthoff and go get some pants." "Okay, can you drive me?" "Sure, why not?" That's why I didn't get all the. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay. But yeah, there was a long line for that vehicle from other journalists wanting to see it. So I'm glad at least one of us got a chance to experience that.
And we were the first in line.
Yes.
That's a big advantage.
That's right.
All right. George, what's your first pick?
Gosh, I did drive quite a few things. I'm glad I got a chance to drive the new 2023 Golf R, the 20th edition, which gives you a deletion of the sunroof and some other aesthetic features, but also be able to drive it on the track at Road America at track speeds, which is really cool. And get a chance to feel some of the torque vectoring of the all-wheel drive and the handling. So being that I own a Golf R, it was nice to be able to compare that to what I currently have. And we'll see some more about that. So I'm not going to talk too much more about it, but that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, because we got a video coming up for that sometime soon.
That's right. But yeah, that was certainly a highlight for me. And gosh, I mean, there are really a lot of good with the Lucid.
Yeah, you drove that one.
Lucid Air Grand Touring. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Actually, we got a video coming up with that too.
The video's going to be coming up on that. Yeah. So it has a lot, just the looks of it. You know, some people will look at it and think, well, is that a Tesla? But no, it has a little bit more girth and size to it, and presence. So it has, yet it's still very aerodynamic because it has to be to maintain their stated range that they need to achieve, which is upwards of 500 miles per charge for some of the models. But yeah, I mean, that was a really nice vehicle, and the 0 to 60 on it was quite impressive. And we'll talk about that in the video as well.
Absolutely. The one thing I will say, and since you brought up the T word, is compared to that T word vehicle, I found that the Lucid is a lot better of a driving experience, more along the lines of ergonomics, where everything goes. I mean, it's like sort of, if you have an idea of what a Tesla drives like, especially a Model 3 or Y or some other models, I mean, you have this screen in the middle where you have your speedometer and a few other things. You have nothing in front of you. And just to say, thank goodness that Lucid has the instrumentation right in front of you. So
right, you're not looking halfway across the front of the dash just to figure out how fast you're going. At least all of the information has an instrument cluster in front of you, which is much appreciated.
Except then you go below the belt line of the interior and there's another screen, but we're going to save that for the video.
Yeah, we will. Any other favorites that you had, Randy?
Well, there is one, but we have a video coming out on it.
Okay.
And that would be the Alfa Romeo Tonale. So we're going to have a full discussion on the Tonale in a future video. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, like, and click on the notification bell to get all the latest information of all the videos that we're going to have coming soon in a rapid succession. So I'm going to skip the Tonale. I'm going to go straight to something that I've driven before, but in a different environment, which is, of course, the 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, the plug-in hybrid version. And I took that off-road.
Yeah, they had an off-road course there in addition to the track. So it's amazing that with that Mama event that you can experience these vehicles in various scenarios. Like they had 2 off-road courses.
Yes, you did.
As well as street driving and, of course, the track at Road America.
Yeah, so this is an interesting situation. Is that when you look at something like an Outlander PHEV, you think, now it's not going to go off-road. But of course, as George said, there are 2 off-road courses. One is a little bit more hardcore for the more hardcore vehicles like a Bronco or the Raptor R or the Z71 Bison, which they brought to our event. I mean, there's other hardcore stuff. And then when you get to the soft roaders like the Outlander PHEV, there's sort of a mix of a little bit of the hardcore and what I like to call green laning, which is you see the mogul, you avoid the mogul, go around it. And it did very well.
Yeah.
It did extremely well. There's a setting you want to, it's like mud or ruts, something to that effect. I forgot. But the mud mode is where you want to put the PHEV if you want to get off the highway. And it works extremely well. It corners very well. I mean, it really adds more solidity to what I like to call the sequel to Voti 2021. So I'm still a stand for the PHEV. So
Yeah. And also, it's not just us that appreciate it, but I think it was the Pacific Northwest Media Association has an off-road event in which the Outlander was one of the top vehicles of its class in off-roading for that event. So it's getting accolades from a wide variety of journalists for its capabilities.
speaking of off-road, I actually took one sort of a combined of the two routes. I took the brand new 2023 Chevrolet Colorado in the Trail Boss edition, which is a much more upgraded off-road package and just below the ZR2 Bison in the Colorado. So this is new interior, tweaked exterior. They went to turbo 4-cylinder power all the way. I got to admit, I was very surprised by this vehicle. It drove better than I thought. The Turbo 4 worked extremely well, and ergonomically it was much better to work with than before. So I took it sort of, like I said, a combined of the two routes. I decided to go one uphill, maybe, I think that was like about maybe a 35% grade. Brought it down. I didn't do the one where you landed in the water feature where you're supposed to talk about depth. But yeah, I could have done that. But still, I figured I saw a hill. They putting me through. I said, let's go for it. It was good. It was fun. And those are my picks. Anything else, George? Because I know you have a video that's already out of something you truly enjoyed.
Gosh, I enjoyed so many of them, but certainly I enjoyed the BMW M2.
That's the one.
Yeah, that was nice. From a sports car perspective, it was very nice. It had that nice, solid German build feel, well put together. The styling looks a little interesting. I think some people are on the fence on that, but I thought it drove well. I thought the power could be a little bit more peaky to make it a little bit more fun, but it's very calculated and controlled, like any German car would be. And it was a lot of fun.
And speaking of, I should have taken you along. You almost took me along with the M2, except I was talking with one of the representatives I know from one of the manufacturers. So I looked at you, I looked at him, I looked at you, and I said, just go on.
Yeah.
and lo and behold, he created a video out of it.
Yeah.
Not that scene, but of the car. Yeah.
So it was a fun car. Sounds great. Comfortable. Handles great. Yeah. Very much. And that's going to be a dying breed kind of a car. Just good old classic internal combustion, manual transmission. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one the enthusiasts should own. Whether you like this styling or not, just drive it. It's an experience. I mean, it's more of a visceral experience than the latest M3, M4. So if you want to look for a comparison, try the M2.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a fun car. I know I get some flack about it, but I give it some parallels with like the Nissan Z in terms of the size factor and ergonomics. And I think the Nissan Z's motor was a little bit more peaky and torquey, which made it a little bit more entertaining to drive. But you get that refinement aspect with the BMW, which it just felt very solid and composed, and you knew what the car was doing the whole time. whereas the Z has a little bit of a wild side to it. So you need to kind of pay attention more in the Z. But yeah, they're both fun cars in their own right.
Yes, they are. I'm so glad we attended this together. The first time we've actually attended the Mama Rally together. And hopefully we'll be back next year at Elkhart Lake.
That's right. I'm counting the days already. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of which, we did take, well, you drove up and we drove back in it, our own V&R Machine, the 2021 Mazda CX-5 Touring, which is our team car. George, tell us what's happening with it.
Yeah, so just to kind of give an update on our ownership experience with the CX-5, and we've put on about 4,000 miles with it since its purchase in mid-April. And we've been kind of keeping track of just the maintenance costs and things like that. So I gave it a proper manual oil change myself. And what was interesting with that is there's actually two different kinds of oil filters for the CX-5. There's one that's called, I'll put the part numbers down in the description in case you're curious, but there's one called Value Products Mazda, and that's what our vehicle came with. And I believe these are made in Mexico. And looking at the inlets, they don't seem to be very large. Now, there's one that's made in Thailand, different part number, but this is what you would get when you purchase the vehicle. That's where they would supply it from. And it has a much larger inlets, so it looks like it would flow better. And the pricing is the same between the two. So I don't know why they call this one Value Products, because it's not less expensive. Whereas this one looks like it's a little bit better made. Looks like it would flow better. So I think we're going to go with these on our CX-5 for sure. So yeah, gave it a proper manual oil change with the actual Mazda synthetic oil and not a third party. Looking at our gas logs, we're getting about 26.7 miles to the gallon in combined driving around town. We're seeing it at about, I believe we're at 24.8 is around town. And on the highway, we saw about 30. And so ours does not have the turbo. It's just a normally aspirated version. So it gets around just fine. On the way out to Elkhart Lake for the Mama Rally, Wisconsin DOT decided to do some pothole patching. And unfortunately, some vehicles hit some of the fresh patches and kicked up some rocks and gave us a nice little cracked windshield. And so we got that taken care of. Unfortunately, the shop who did it also scratched some of the panels, and the clips for the roof rails need to be fixed and things like that. So those are still being resolved. But other than that, it's been reliable. It's given us comfortable driving in the hot weather that we've had. It's been mid to upper 90s this summer, and the air conditioning is kept up just fine. And it's hauled stuff for us. It's hauled these new set tables that we got from IKEA. Practical vehicle. It's doing its job.
Wow. I mean, I love the car. Okay. I love the CX-5. It's funny because before you bought it, I was like hedging a little bit because I've had some experiences in reviewing them that could have been better than I anticipated and expected. But driving this one changed my mind. Love it. The seats are comfortable. It drives very well. The engine gives me a little dramatic sound to it. I love it, and whenever I'm not working with anything or whenever I swap vehicles with George to work with, then I take it, I do my errands and run it around. And I've done plenty of errands for both my day job as well as V&R. So it's been a really great vehicle for us.
I agree. I'm glad that we got that, and it's filling its niche that we intended perfectly. So no regrets there. So
what do we got in the future for this car?
in the future, Boy, well, we did get some wheels. Someone was selling their set of their original 17-inch wheels that we will use to put on snow tires and winter tires come this fall. And we're just kind of waiting for the supply of the tires to become available. We'll probably go with like the Michelin X-Ice tires. Been running them on my Golf R in the winter and been really pleased with how they perform. And it's Michelin, so it's hard to go wrong with Michelin.
By the way, if you're from Michelin, North America, sponsor us, please. We've been using your products so far, and we're loving them.
Absolutely, on the CX-5, on the Golf R. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Michelin. Let's see. I think that's the biggest thing so far, and really no other major plans for it. And we did buy some accessories over the course of the summer. We put in the cargo cover in the back. We added floor mats in the cargo area as well as in the front and back seats. I added a cargo net because when I make my target runs, I wanted the bags in the back not to roll around so much, so that holds them down really well. Really appreciate that. And so, yeah, it just does its job.
Yes, and continue to do so. We'll keep you updated on both the website. Don't forget to log on to victoryandreseda.net for actual updates on the V&R Machine. On top of all that, we'll even maybe throw in a couple of videos, but right now on our channel, you can watch the reveal video, which you could click somewhere around here or down there.
Yeah, and that's where we announced the purchase of the vehicle and a little bit more details about it there too. So watch that.
Exactly, including imitations of Scooby-Doo. Sorry, I had to bring that up. Somebody else did.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's why it's called the V&R Machine. But let's move on, shall we?
That's the genesis of that, yeah.
Yeah, let's move on, shall we?
So another vehicle in our fleet is my Golf R. It's a 2019 Volkswagen Golf R, and it has the DSG transmission. And that's been my daily driver since 2019. And prior to that, I had a 2016 Golf R with the manual transmission. Updates on that vehicle. Haven't been driving it that much this summer, but I do take it out on occasion. It did get its oil change. The nice thing about the EA888 motor is that you can use a extractor to remove the oil, and the oil filter is just right on top, so you can just pop it off and replace it. You don't have to lift the vehicle, which is really nice. Other thing we did is the maintenance for the Halidex all-wheel drive system, because it was due for that. So the important thing with that is there's a filter component with the Halidex pump that you want to pop that off and inspect that, because you can have these like black globs that block the passage of fluid. And if you just take it to the dealership, they just replace the fluid. They don't pull the filter and inspect the filter. So when you have that done, be sure you have that pulled and inspected and cleaned. Otherwise, you can have issues, let's say like if the fluid stops working, you're not going to have power going to the rear wheels and potentially burn out the pump for the Halidex system. So got that taken care of.
Fantastic. How many miles are on that Golf R?
That is at about 37,800, I believe, right now.
Yeah, would it be funny if the V&R Machine will end up having more miles than your Golf R?
Oh, boy. At this rate, it might.
Oh,
because
God.
I think we're now at 20,800 or so.
We got slower roll in that car.
Well, come winter, we'll see.
Okay.
And we have a lot of vehicles coming in right now, so it's not getting as much use.
So many vehicles, so little time. And in various different places, too.
Right.
Speaking of which, let me dive into some of the vehicles we've been working with. First off the bat, speaking of the Mama Rally, I drove this to Elkhart Lake. It's a 2023 Mazda CX-9 Signature. Now, the good news is that it's a very comfortable, roomy, spacious, 3-row SUV. The bad news is that this is the final model year for it, because the replacement is already here. It's called the CX-90, and we'll be getting that very soon. But it'll be interesting when we get into the CX-90 to find out the differences between the two. And, you know, there's some marked differences already. However, just to repeat, the takeaway of it, CX-9, it's big, it's comfortable, it's a nice cruiser. especially long distance into Elkhart Lake. And compared to the CX-90, it's still a good value. And you'll probably end up seeing some discount prices when you see more CX-90s roll into showrooms along with remaining CX-9s. Keep in mind that compared to the CX-90, there's only one driveline in the CX-9. That's the turbocharged 2.5-liter Skyactiv G, which means that if you put premium in there, you get 252 horsepower. If not, that drops down to below 230 if you use regular, but you can use both. It's not like where you get a label inside the gas tank and say, premium fuel only. Nope, you can use regular or even mid grade, so that works out either way.
It's nice that Mazda offers the kind of like two different tunes, if you think about it, where the engine will just adapt to whatever fuel it has. So if you want just that extra little bit of performance, you can give it the good stuff and it will take advantage of it, where a lot of other cars won't.
Now, George and I have been sharing these vehicles that we work with as we do our content, whether it's on here on the YouTube channel or on the website. And don't forget to log on to all of the content avenues that we offer, especially here on YouTube. Again, subscribe, like, click on the notification bell for the next video, or just go to the website at victoryandreseda.net, because George fully reviewed a vehicle that I was looking forward to.
Yeah, that was the 2023 Ford F-150 Tremor. So that gives it a little bit more off-road prowess with the larger wheels and lifted suspension and some appearance bits with the F-150.
And it's not a Raptor, folks. So the Tremor is just below the Raptor. The Raptor is very specific suspension bits, very specific engine, which is the high output 3.5 liter EcoBoost. So the Raptor is very specific. The Tremor, however, comes in its own engine, which is the optional 5-liter V8.
And that sounds really nice. It's got a nice little growl to it when you lean into the throttle, and moves the truck along fairly nicely.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more.
Our tester had the side steps to help step into it, which you really do need because it's kind of up there a little ways. Once you're in the seats were very comfortable. And traditional Ford layout, nothing too crazy or fancy. You have the big center screen, and it drove quite nicely. It wasn't all that inefficient, considering it was a V8. I think we were seeing a combination of 16.7 miles to gallon on that. I saw it average as high as almost 20, which isn't too bad around town.
That's not shocking when you consider it's got a 10-speed automatic transmission coupled to the four-wheel drive system. It's a full transfer case of 2 speeds, with a low ratio, and it has an automatic setting. But I kind of miss it. I was in a hospital when the Tremor showed up, and I was a little in the hospital going, damn, if I can get out of here, I could drive that truck.
We were trying to hatch plans to break them out, but none were successful, unfortunately.
Nah, they wouldn't let me go. Darn it.
Yeah, but I gave you a lot of pictures of it to see the vehicle in its full spec and its configuration. So hopefully you're able to enjoy that at least.
I did. I shedded a tear.
Yeah. Well, certainly maybe we'll come across that vehicle again in the future. So.
Or something similar, because there is a revised F-150 going to show up at the Detroit Auto Show in September. Now, the next vehicle I want to talk about is our first 2024 we have driven on a review, and it's the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek. Now, let me explain a little bit about this, because there was some confusion on my end whether this is an all-new vehicle or not. It is not an all-new vehicle. It is a revised version of a very successful member of the Subaru lineup. As I've last checked, it's still the number 2 best-selling model in the lineup as of, year to date so far. Although the Forester is really climbing up in terms of volume, but still the number 1 is the Outback. Now, this Crosstrek is an updated version, as I said, brand new front clip with a bold, big grille, brand new rear tail lights, a little bit of nips and tucks around the vehicle. But when you step inside, the center stack, especially in the premium model we had the 11.6-inch portrait orientation touchscreen. It's driven by Starlink, which is our infotainment system, and it really makes the difference in this vehicle. But overall, it's the same as has always been. Our model was the premium, as I mentioned before. The 2-liter Boxer 4-cylinder with 152 horsepower. It's a lively engine. It's really a fun driver, especially when you consider that the model we had was just under $30,000.
And that's huge, being able to find a good, well-equipped, capable vehicle for less than $30,000.
And what's more interesting about this updated Crosstrek is that, as we mentioned in our last update, is they're adding the Wilderness model, which is a lot more capable. It has a higher ground clearance, uprated X mode with a true low ratio. Well, okay, not true. It's more of an electronic version of it, but you could tell where this is going. But again, if you don't want to spend $35,000 for the Wilderness and wait for it when they finally show up the showrooms, you can get away with a premium for under 30 grand, and you could still go off-road, but not technically, just, trails or gravel paths, and just get to your cabin, get everything loaded up. It's a fun car.
And some snowstorms, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Winter tires, folks, even though I'm just saying,
Yeah, that, good tires and ground clearance, those are the keys.
Now, we got one more vehicle to talk about, and actually, George, you have the keys to it.
That's right. That's the 2023 Genesis GV70 Electrified.
Which is also known as the Electrified GV70.
That's basically where they're taking the internal combustion mechanicals out of the vehicle and replacing it with many of the components from their other electric vehicles. It's not 100%, but there's a good number of components from, let's say, like the GV60 that are found in this vehicle.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's the same exact electric motors, the same exact battery, but what they did was, once they cleared out all the ICE stuff and the drive lines and everything, is they did some tweaks in the platform to make it all fit, and it really works. They did the same thing in the electrified G80 sedan, which is a larger vehicle, so plenty of room for the battery from the GV60 just pop in. The other significant piece about the electrified GV70 is, along with its ICE siblings, they will be made at the Hyundai Motor Group plant in Montgomery, Alabama. So this is the first American-made Genesis.
And therefore, you would get the electric credits for U.S.-produced electric vehicle for tax credits.
Check your local dealership for more details.
True.
So what I love about the electrified GV70 is that it's basically the same thing as its ICE cousin. It's exactly the same thing, the same interior, the same exterior. And by the way, you don't find an electrified badge whatsoever on the GV70, this one. However, how you can tell the difference between an ICE version of the GV70 and electrified? Look up front, the grille. It looks like a mesh grille, as you'll find on the internal combustion models, but it's like a panel that's chromed. However, if you look very closely, the charging door is in the grille. And all you have to do is touch a little indent, pops up. After you take out all the panels, put in your plug. That's what I love. Why can't all EVs have a frontal charging door?
True. Or right and back, not somewhere midpoint along the side of the vehicle, which brings the cables, the charging cable a little bit tougher at the high-speed, fast charging places.
And state of charge. I love it because it does have a maximum range of 235 miles according to Genesis. I did a recent charge up at 98%. state of charge, and it got back 228 miles on a range.
That's pretty good because it's factoring in your previous driving history. So that means you're running all the accessories, the climate control, and all that. So it's factoring that into its projected future range.
Funny you asked about driving habits. There is a measurement that hopefully will be used by the EPA one of these days. It is sort of like an MPG, not the MPGE, but it's a different measurement. So it measures miles per kilowatt hour. So the rule of thumb is if you get more than 3, you're doing good. So the last reading I had on that electrified GV70 was 3.1. Now, it may not sound as great, but again, rule of thumb, if it's above 3, you're doing good. If it's below 3, may want to tweak your driving habits or tweak the regen on your vehicle.
And considering the size of the GV70, that's really impressive, I think, for what kind of power you're getting out of that. So
exactly.
And you mentioned the key fob on this, and it's a nice slim key fob, and it has an interesting aspect to it that it has the parking modes right on the button there where you can automatically make the vehicle go forward or backwards with the key fob. But it's a relatively, I think, small and light key fob with a lot of functions on it, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, by the way, the electrified GV70 has Smart Park. They don't call it Smart Park at Genesis.
Smart Park?
Smart Park.
Smart Park.
There we go. We got one more thing. We got a very huge surprise. We talked about at the beginning of the podcast, the video. George?
Yeah, so our surprise is we do have some merch available. So we do have a limited edition run of Victory Reseda hats. And these are the Flex Fit ones, which are really nice and they're comfortable, as well as Victory Reseda t-shirts. Woo! So I believe we have extra large and double extra large. Just a few of them. So if you have an interest in purchasing any of these, let us know in the comments below or reach out to us directly, and we'd be glad to set you up. Limited edition run, just happen to make a couple of them, but if we'll make more if people like to get more. So.
And don't ask about stickers just yet. I haven't reached out to our supplier. We need to get more stickers. So you can also email us if you're interested in stickers too. These are the vinyl stickers. They're about 8 inches by about 1 3/4 high. So if you want one, again, contact us.
We'll set you up. So yeah.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So with that, I think we'll call this a wraps on the episode 3. Thank you for joining us, be it on YouTube or streaming, wherever you may be listening to this. And we'll look forward to speaking with you again here in the next few months. We've got some busy things on our plate coming up, and we hope that you get a chance to join us with those.
Lots and lots of car reviews coming your way.
Good stuff. Absolutely. Yes. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and a notification bell to find out when our next video is coming out on our YouTube channel. And for all the great content, don't forget to log on to victoryandreseda.net. So long, everybody.